right. Thanks for your patience, everybody. And for today's webinar, we're going to be talking about dopamine habits and dopamine impacts and digital habits with Anjan Katta of Daylight Computer. I'm Maria Rickard Hong. I'm a co-founder and the Education and Media Director for Documenting Hope and your host. If you have any questions, just type them into the chat box, please, instead of the Q&A, because it records the questions for me. And we're going to be taking questions at the end if we have time. Documenting Hope is a 501c3 nonprofit that provides root cause healing solutions for children's chronic health and developmental conditions. We provide resources and support for parents and practitioners who are ready to move beyond the conventional symptom-suppressive approach to disease management and to instead use a root cause approach. You can find out more about us at our website, which is documentinghope.com. And we invite you to join us inside our Healing Together membership program, where we have an uncensored private forum, monthly house calls with Doctors Medea Saeed and Heather Toman Room, and we have monthly community Q&A calls, as well as our Healing Trail map. You can find out more about us at healing.documentinghope.com. And just a quick disclaimer about our webinar. This webinar is not a substitute for medical advice, treatment, diagnosis, or consultation with a medical professional. It is intended for general informational purposes only and should not be relied upon to make determinations related to treatment of a medical condition. Documenting Hope has not verified and does not guarantee the accuracy of the information provided in this webinar. So today my guest is Anjan Katta, who's the CEO of Daylight Computer, and it's a company who says that we refuse to accept a future where our devices are exhausting, addictive, and distracting. I'm going to put a link to the chat, and you can use the code HOPE to get a $50 discount for the devices that he's going to be talking about. But before we get going about that, tell us about yourself, Anjan. How did you get started in doing what you're doing?
Well, nice to meet you all, and I'm excited to be here. Um, I started doing this because I grew up in a small town in Canada, a nickel mining town called Sudbury, Ontario, and I just felt like a total alien amongst everybody there. I didn't even speak English until I was 5, um, and it's sort of like the Canadian equivalent of redneck country. And I just I just from a young age like didn't really feel very sure how to connect with other people, even as I learned English and so on. I just didn't understand why I'm such an alien. And so
Mm,
I just turned to books and I read a lot of books. And my dad's a psychiatrist, so our house was full of crazy books. Um, I think there's something as a psychiatrist where you see somebody who's totally normal come into your office and
mhm.
you learn underneath, wow, they have a lot going on. And I think you just start to bring that to other parts of life, right? Like, hey, this is
Yes.
what people say about food. Okay, well, what's the actual underlying reality? This is what people say about economics. This is what people say about,
Mhm.
everything, whatever it may be. And so I think that was deeply installed into me, which is like what meets the eye isn't what's underneath. And often the world is in this pretend state. And so I think this combination of just sort of feeling like more connected to books than to other people. And yeah, not really so trusting of the appearances of things versus the true experience underneath it. I think those
Mhm.
are sort of the two things that led me to create Daylight because along the way I realized I'm neurodivergent as hell. And that
Oh.
helped me understand why it was so hard to connect with other people.
Mhm.
And rather than being soft and gentle with my sensitivities, I was very harsh about it and
Mhm.
self-blaming
Mhm.
and you suck and you don't have the skills and you're not disciplined and you know um, I'm very ADHD and I'm I'm it's sort of still hard for me to admit it, but I'm like a sort of high functioning Asperger's of sorts. Um,
Mhm.
and just technology was very, very overstimulating to me. Like
Mhm.
very, very distracting. And I looked
Yeah.
around and it seemed to affect everyone, but there was a way in which it felt like it uniquely affected me and my friends who were sort of sensitive or neurodivergent.
Right.
And I love reading, and I would do a lot of my reading on a computer, and it was just so difficult.
It's awful, right? I hate it. It's like, please send me a book, like a hard copy book.
And textbooks and things were more digital. So
Yeah.
I just had this same like that same love of reading just like really reared its head with how much time I then spend on digital devices.
Mhm.
And then also that tech presents itself as our savior, and you see the Apple ads and they're like doing crazy stuff, making movies and music, and I'm like, what's happening for me is I'm just getting overstimulated and distracted and feeling bad about myself. So I
Mhm.
think there was sort of like, okay, that's what tech looks like on the surface, but actually here's the real crazy underbelly reality of it. And I felt frustrated by it. I felt enraged, mostly at myself. And at some point, I said, enough. I don't want to keep beating myself up about this. There's got to be a
Good.
way to change this technology for people like myself who are sensitive and really feel. And that was what started Daylight.
Interesting. Interesting. I know, like, ever since I was a kid, I've always preferred natural light, and I hate fluorescent lights. It's like I hate schoolrooms, I hate hospitals. Nobody else really seems to be bothered by it but me, or like LED lights. Like, I don't think I could go to the Sphere in Las Vegas. I'd probably have to wear like my blue blocker glasses and sort of, derail the whole experience of it because of that. But yeah, I get where you're coming from because it's harsh, the light that comes from devices. And I've heard, I don't know if this is true or not, I've heard that Steve Jobs didn't allow his own daughter to use an iPad, because he knew that it was so addictive. Can you talk about that? Why they are so addictive?
And that's the part that I feel like if people knew how tech people use technology with their family, I feel like their people would be in the streets. So Steve Jobs didn't allow any of his children to use iPhones or iPads until they were 16. Bill Gates didn't allow his children to also have a phone until they were like 16.
Hmm.
Zuckerberg doesn't allow any of his kids to use social media. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and tries to limit their
Poison.
screen time. Evan Spiegel of Snapchat doesn't allow his kids to, they're younger, but to have screens as well. And
Mhm.
I'm here in Silicon Valley. You go down the list. Some of the people most excited about daylight um, are these tech people who don't want technology for their kids.
Right.
And I think that tells you everything you need to know.
Hmm.
That tells you everything you need to know.
Right. It's not just the social media piece, which can be in and of itself pretty
Right.
dangerous and harmful and can get people into these silos, but it's the technology itself, like what you're talking about with your company, that alters the way, I guess, what we're perceiving, right? So it's a softer amber light, with your devices, and it's a people would have to go to the website to take a look at it, but it's more, you explain it.
So
It'd be better.
basically, along the way, my goal was to understand why are computers distracting, addicting, and I don't think it's entirely just that the social media feeds and the content itself is designed to be a dopamine slot machine.
Mhm.
That is true. I think it's also the screen, the
Mhm.
light that comes from the screen, the way a screen is set up. And I'll share the details, but just to sort of give the frame, you can sort of think like what makes technology addicting, the software of it.
Mhm.
You could sort of think as that as the slot machine in a Vegas casino. It's what you sit in front of, it's what you interact with, and it is engineered to take advantage of you. But you can sort of think of the screen, the light, the flicker, the blue light, all these subtle aspects of the physical aspects of a computer
Mhm.
as the casino itself around the slot machine.
Right.
And they have figured out over many years in Vegas how to create an environment that makes you
Yes.
most susceptible to getting hijacked by that.
Yes.
And so what do? They block all the natural light.
Hmm.
It is incredibly bright. It is so colorful. There is lots of flickering things everywhere.
Hmm.
And it's in that, and then of course they give you booze and people not wearing too many clothes. But they are like the masterminds of figuring out how to make an environment that then puts your nervous system in a place where you then try to, you're susceptible to falling into
Hmm.
these dopamine holes. And the thought experiment I enjoy is imagine that same slot machine on the banks of a river, a beautiful river. You can hear the sound of that water. You can look up at the trees. You feel the birds. Is that slot machine going to be as addicting?
No, of course not. Yeah.
And that was sort of the big realization is there's a lot we can do to block stuff and change the defaults of software. And I'm happy to speak about that too. But I think the big aha was, wait a minute. If we can make a computer screen that is not super bright,
Hmm.
has not gotten oversaturated colors,
Right.
doesn't have blue light, which is one of the most significant things,
Right.
um, completely dysregulates you, not just for sleep, but actually your dopamine and hormonal systems,
Hmm.
metabolically,
Hmm.
and something called flicker, which I
Yes.
can explain. But basically, if you look at screens in slow motion, your iPad or iPhone, it is like hundreds of times a second turning on and off.
Right.
And it's
The
for an
refresh.
engineering reason to save cost and change brightness at the same time.
Mm,
Um, and the consequence of it is they never were able to test this on a wide swath of the population.
mm.
It was just whatever engineers in the lab, hey, Fred, let's look at this for 10 hours a day. And it turns out for those of us who are sensitive, who are
Mhm,
neurodivergent, have concussions, just a certain percentage of the population, I think
mhm.
it's like 30% plus. But I think it impacts everybody. Flicker has a lot of impact on our nervous system, our working memory, and cognitive load.
I can see that.
And so by sort of removing flicker, by removing blue light, by removing overstimulating colors, by it being extremely bright, and being able to use it outside, um, the way we basically made a piece of paper that can animate and can glow at nighttime with flicker-free amber, no blue light.
That's
That
cool.
was a lot of words, but the idea
That's
is
cool.
like,
Yeah.
can you get the benefits of an analog thing
Yeah.
without any of these
Totally.
problems, without all the casino, but
Hmm.
still be able to not be a Luddite and access a computer? And that's what
Exactly.
the essence of daylight is. It's sort of an iPad with a healthier screen and a very different set of defaults that
Interesting.
are addicting on the software.
Fun fact, I used to be a gaming analyst, casinos, lodging and leisure on Wall Street for
Whoa. Oh,
for Jeffries and Credit Lyonnais. And I actually used to loathe going into casinos. I'm like, how do people do this? It's not me. I'd rather be like over in Zion National Park, like hiking or something, rather than go there. Like, I don't get it, but a lot of people do. I get it, but yeah, it's just kind of a fun intersection here,
yeah.
how that all, comes together. So when you talk about flicker, is that the same as refresh rate? Like how often this image is being refreshed on the screen?
No, they're two different
Two
things.
different.
So,
Okay.
um, you can think about it as there's two types of computer screens.
Hmm.
And basically, everybody only knows about one type, the type that's in your iPhone or iPad. And
Hmm.
what we're doing is bringing back another type of computer screen that has sort of been not well known outside of like total computer nerds for a long time. And technology was not good enough. And so what we did is finally make that good enough. But to explain the two differences is a normal emissive, meaning it emits light computer screen,
Hmm.
what you see in an iPhone or iPad, it's essentially a flashlight that you then put a silhouette over.
Okay.
And that flashlight, and this is why you can't see these screens in the sun, because the flashlight, quote unquote, in the display is not as bright as the sun. So it's trying to compete with the sun, and the sun beats it. That's why you can't
Right.
see it.
And your phone will overheat.
And your phone will overheat, and your battery life will last for very like in 2 hours or
Yeah.
whatever. But that flashlight, that's the one that flicks on and off like 500 times per second.
Okay. Okay.
The flashlight behind it. And so when your brightness is at 100%, then there is not any flicker. But your brightness at 100% is going to burn your eyeballs. But as you bring the brightness down, they start to flicker that light. Um, and basically, you can create an optical illusion, which is if in 1 second that light is on for a millisecond and off for a millisecond and on for a millisecond and off for a millisecond, it doesn't because they flicker it so quickly. Their claim is you don't see it. It just looks like your screen is white, but now it's
Right.
50% brightness rather than 100%.
Oh, interesting.
Because
Okay.
it's on for a millisecond and off for a millisecond on, so it's like half and half. And if your phone is at 10% brightness, then it's on for a millisecond and then off for 4 milliseconds, and so that flicker is even more pronounced.
Hmm.
And so if you think about what you do at nighttime, you want to have your screens be less bright. Well, that's
Right.
when it's maximally flickering. That's when
Interesting.
the blue light is most dysregulating. You
Interesting.
combine that together, and it's like no wonder there's tantrums when we take away computers from kids. No wonder they're
Yeah.
so stressed at the end of the day after looking at these screens. And yeah, I don't think many people know about Flickr. And it's not something you can change on the software side. You have to change it on the hardware side. So
Right.
our screen, compared to a normal emissive screen, it's a reflective screen. Think of a piece of paper. The piece of paper doesn't create its own light. It's the light from your window, the light from your light. It comes and hits it, and then it
Hmm.
reflects into your eye, and that's why you're able to see it.
So it's more like a natural light.
It's more like natural light. So that's the principle our screen is based off of, is it reflects the light from your environment, which, if you're in natural light, it's in harmony with the sun instead of competing with it, because it is the sunlight hitting the screen and reflecting into your eyes that allows you to see the screen. Uh,
Like the moon.
like the moon. Yeah, maybe we should have called the company Moonlight instead of Daylight.
Yeah, true.
And then at nighttime, we have the ability to sort of um, think about it as a piece of paper with these tiny little holes in it, and therefore you can actually have light go through it. So at nighttime, we have a flicker-free amber light. So it's got the same spectrum as
Mm.
a campfire. It's very different than a fluorescent light or very different than the blue in a LED light. Even if an LED looks white, even if your iPhone looks white, it's actually got a lot of blue light behind it. And
Oh, yeah.
it's a bit geeky to explain the science of that. And so the idea is here at nighttime, no flicker, you can have a lot lower of a brightness and no blue light. So we're hoping to sort of pioneer and show people
Yeah.
the healthier way to do computers. The trade-off is you don't get colors, but
Right.
my feeling is for most of the sort of things that I wanted to do on a computer, they didn't really require color.
Right.
Spotify doesn't require color. Reading a book doesn't require color. Listening to an audiobook doesn't require color. If you're an adult, replying to your emails. And
Mhm.
you have your other devices and screens for Netflix and games and this. And so the hope is rather than putting that all in one place, let's make a computer that is as healthy and understimulating as possible.
Yeah. I mean, especially for kids, because obviously they're more sensitive to this and, parents probably wouldn't know, but they have smart boards in the school that's all EMF everywhere. And then Chromebooks as soon as they're probably like second grade or something by now. And it's just screen, screen, screen. And I think parents found that out during lockdown and COVID, like how much and screen time their kids had. And then because of lockdown, they were on their screens for 8 hours a day. And it was just exhausting, I think, for everybody. And um, I think a lot of parents intuitively understood that there's something not so good about screens and kids, but it's hard to put that together. So I think you've done that for us here.
And I think the thing that's sort of stunning here too is like, when TVs came out, all the parents were worried, oh my God, what's going to happen to my kid looking at TV all the time?
Mhm.
And maybe some people can be like, okay, it's basically we've been looking at screens for some period of time. The screens we have today are dramatically different than the screens
Oh
from
yeah.
the past. The screens from the past didn't have these huge peaks in blue light. They didn't
Mhm.
actually have flicker. The way we've made it a flicker free is we went back to an old technology, is how
Oh.
they did it 20 years ago.
Hmm.
And then the distance, you keep devices a lot closer to your face. And so the
Right.
intensity of that light is much stronger. And yeah, I could go
Yeah.
on, but the person who invented the LCD display, he
Mhm.
told me, if I knew that my grandchild was going to be spending 6, 7 hours a day looking at this screen I invented, I
Yeah.
would have never invented it the way it looks.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
have never invented it the way it looks.
Yeah. And
That
you think
that was stunning to me.
Yeah, it is stunning because you go into a restaurant or wherever and parents have their kids there, little baby, little toddler, and the kid's got like a device like this, and it's like just interacting with the device, doesn't know anymore to interact with people. So there's no social skills that are being developed. Their vision is being completely shot because everything is more in a two-dimensional world rather than a three-dimensional world. And all those
Mm.
other things that go along with that. So much fun. But I did